Hi book lovers, welcome back to my channel. As you can tell from today's video title and also my bookshelf setup behind me, I read and watched Queen Charlotte. This is a Bridgerton spin-off, a Bridgerton prequel. It's set before and also after the Bridgerton series, and this is going to be my thoughts, my review of what I watched and read. There's going to be a couple mild spoilers, but at the same time, if you have watched the Bridgerton series, then you already know how Queen Charlotte ends. You know how Queen Charlotte and King George's romance ends, but now with this new story we get the full detail of how they first met and fell in love. I'm gonna try to keep the spoilers towards the end of this video though. Also, if anyone was curious about these editions that I have, so this one is the new hardcover that's come out for Queen Charlotte by Julia Quinn and Shonda Rhimes. It's like an automatic series tie-in edition, but there is an alternate dust jacket on the other side of it. It's just like a regular Bridgerton cover, but I prefer this cover with the actors on it. And then right next to it, these beautiful hardcovers with foiling. They are the special edition hardcovers from Illumicrate. And then on the shelf below, these are the regular hardcovers for the Bridgerton series, but the dust jackets are from Juniper Books. So starting off with the show, I watched the show first. I was torn between reading the book first or watching the show first, but I just decided to watch it on Netflix because it came out earlier. The series, surprisingly, took me a little while to get into it. You know, the kind of show where you just end up playing it in the background while you do work or whatever. This ended up being that show for me, unfortunately, at least for the first few episodes. I did dedicate myself to the first episode though, because I was like, we're getting a new Bridgerton season. I mean, it's not part of the main storyline, but I do like the series, even though season 2 annoyed me. I do like the books, so that weekend that the show came out, I watched the first episode and kind of stopped there for a little while. I just was not feeling like binging, and I'm like a serious binger. It doesn't matter if it's a book series or a show. If I get into it, I want to consume the entire thing and almost all in one go, right? But I just didn't get invested in this first episode. It was still good, it was okay, it was really nice being back in this historical world with all the gorgeous costumes, and then it took me an entire week to get back to the show. So for me personally, if I don't feel the need to keep watching, I'm probably not going to end up loving it. So if I had to give this one a rating out of 5, it'd be 3.5 stars. Still better than season 2, but not quite as enjoyable as season 1 for me. It wasn't until episode 3 in Queen Charlotte that I finally found myself invested in everything and just binge the rest of the season. It was only 6 episodes though, which I was a little surprised by. It all flew by very quickly. The only annoying thing though was when I got invested in episode 3, then episode 4 happened, which was my least favorite episode because half of it was just recap. All the scenes replaying of what we literally just watched in the first 3 episodes. That annoyed the crap out of me. It felt unnecessary for me to have those replays, and I would have rather had like a true George point of view episode. We do get some of his point of view, but it wasn't the entire episode. That being said, episode 4 was the turning point of this season just because this is when things do get dark. Episode 1 was light and flirty-ish. I did really like George and Charlotte's first meeting, which was very, very cute. But as a whole, I wasn't like, oh my god, yes, this is exactly what I want. This is exactly what I love. Like how I felt for episode 1 of Bridgerton season 1. The second half of the season is when you really feel bad for both Charlotte and George, because in the first few episodes you feel bad for Charlotte. She is taken from her home country, and forced to marry someone she has literally never met or talked to. She's forced into this whole new world, a world full of different rules, and her life belongs to other people now. But starting with episode 4, you also see that George feels the exact same way. You see that George is also struggling, and struggling especially with his mental illness. He literally puts himself through so much pain and torture because of this illness to try to fix himself so he can be the right man for Charlotte. And I really felt for him, but at the same time, I also didn't understand it. Why did he keep going through all that pain and torture when he wasn't getting any results? It's weeks and weeks of this awful abusive treatment and nothing has changed for him. Maybe it got to a point that he couldn't think for himself anymore. I don't know. It just didn't make sense to me, but I did feel for him and how he was just so desperate to fix himself for Charlotte. Like, it was literally all for his love, his wife. And as much as I thought the romance was sweet, I feel like we didn't get enough of it. We barely get to see George and Charlotte spend time together, like good time together. We get a little bit of it in the beginning, and then George pulls away. Charlotte is like, no, I've had enough. We're making this marriage work. They get a little bit of time together, but then George pulls away again. So I wish we just got more of them. And again, it's only 6 episodes, so the little of them that we got, it was very, very little. We definitely saw more of them angry at each other than them being happy together. And also in the show, their romance kept getting interrupted by the present day timeline. Like the whole thing going on with Queen Charlotte trying to get herself a grandbaby, and then there was also Lady Danbury's plotline. George's mother would also interrupt a lot as well. So I do wish we got more time with Charlotte and George, but the quality that we did get was still fantastic. And then a new plotline that we got here was Brimsley and Reynolds being forbidden lovers. The king and queens, I don't even know what you call them, they're right-hand men. They were lovers, they had been lovers for some time, I think. Their whole love story was also incorporated into this 6-episode series, and I really like them. It's just very bittersweet because you know they can't truly be together. They always have to hide their relationship, they can never be out, and unfortunately we do get to see in the present day that they don't even end up together at the end. Honestly, I thought that Reynolds ended up dying, but it could have been that they just didn't work out. Apparently, I did look into it, but there was supposed to be a scene where we see Reynolds and Brimsley in present day, but it got cut, and it was a scene that would have confirmed like 100% that they didn't end up together and no one died. So with that cut, their ending is left open-ended, but would I want an actual story for them, like a whole series for them? I don't really know. They're both very compelling characters and I really like their actors, but I'm not sure I could handle an ending where the characters couldn't truly be together. They'd have to hide their love together and sneak around until they die. If they were normal people, it would be a totally different story and I would absolutely want it, but they literally work for the king and queen, so it's not like, you know, they can be free. And speaking of great actors, I loved the actor and actress for young George and Charlotte, especially the actress who played a younger Charlotte. She was fantastic. She just did amazing. Like, I love the emotion that she put into her character, all the heartbreak and the turmoil that she was feeling over George, her anger about her situation, and then finally her truly becoming queen at the end. All the actors were spot on. I just didn't love the storyline. And then we also get Lady Danbury's origin story as well. She was forced into a marriage with a man who's literally 30 years older than her, and it was not a love marriage at all. But even at such a young age, you can see the Lady Danbury that she's going to be, like the Lady Danbury that we see in the Bridgerton timeline, the one who is smart and cunning. We definitely see it in the younger version of her. It's because of her that her family entered into the aristocracy. The only thing I was a little iffy about was how surprising and slightly unbelievable it was that it only took one generation for people of color to join the aristocracy and to be able to pass down their titles through family. It was so normalized in Bridgerton season 1 and 2 that apparently it only happened like 30 years prior. So that was Queen Charlotte, the show. I did end up reading the book right after, and I don't know why I was surprised, but they were basically the same thing. It was just that the show had a couple more things in addition to what happened in the book. In the show, we get 2 timelines, the present day and then the past with young King George and Charlotte. In the book, we only get the past. And because we get the present timeline in the show, we never get to see Queen Charlotte struggling to get grandchildren out of her many, many kids. I did think it was really heartwarming how the reason why Queen Charlotte's kids never left her to go marry off was because they didn't want to leave her alone. They didn't want her to be lonely. They knew that she still loved King George, but he's just not all there anymore. And then another thing that was only in the show was Violet Bridgerton. In the book, we don't see any mention of Violet or the Bridgertons at all, but in the show, we get both the past and present version of her. Violet being in the show, though, I'm not gonna lie, was a little awkward. The present version of her is very horny. She loves her husband, she misses her husband, but she also misses the touch of another man. So she needs sex badly in present timeline. I was like, well, okay, you do what you gotta do. And then the past timeline, the young Violet, oh my god. I was not expecting what happened. So this is probably like the biggest spoiler. You can skip ahead if you want, but I did not expect Lady Danbury, young Lady Danbury, to have an affair with Violet's father. It was so awkward. I'm not gonna lie, I did not like it because I was not feeling any chemistry between those two actors or their characters. I just was not a fan, and it definitely made things super awkward in present day when Violet found out. I was cringing inside the whole time during that part. Agatha could have chosen any other guy, but she chose Violet's father. The thing that the book had that the show did not have was actually all the George point of view chapters. We get to see how he thinks of Charlotte, how he thinks when he has an episode, but we get to see him fall in love, and I think that's why I prefer the book over the show. I just think that having George's point of view throughout the entire series, rather in just one episode, episode 4, made the story so much stronger in the book. Like, I would give the book 4 stars, whereas the show is 3.5 stars for me. And even though we didn't get any of the present day timeline in the book, I didn't miss it at all. Okay, I'm interrupting this video because I realized in the middle of editing that I forgot to mention a point that I wrote down in my notes, which was, as much as I liked the book, you definitely don't need to read it if you've already watched the Netflix show. Everything that happens in the past timeline with Charlotte and George falling in love, Brimsley and Reynolds being together, Agatha becoming Lady Danbury, and facing all the racism in the aristocracy, all of that is pretty much exactly the same between the show and the book. So my ratings for the book and the show, they're like an individual rating, you know, on its own, how I felt about it. Because again, pretty much everything that happens in the book is in the show. It's just that the show added a couple different layers on top of it. All the dialogue especially, a lot of it is actually exactly the same, like verbatim, between the book and the show. So all that's to say is that you don't need to read the book if you've already watched the show. As much as I enjoyed the book for the George point of views, it is pretty redundant. I am probably in the minority for not loving Queen Charlotte though. I mean, I still liked it, okay? It wasn't bad. I did enjoy it. I did enjoy myself, but it does seem like people really love this show, even more than the Bridgerton series. I'm very curious what you guys think though, like how you would rank Queen Charlotte with the other 2 Bridgerton seasons. Like, for me, I think from best to worst would be Bridgerton season 1, and then Queen Charlotte, and then Bridgerton season 2. So Queen Charlotte is in the middle right now. We'll see how season 3 lives up. I will say though, I am still very, very happy with how successful this whole series has gotten. Like, so successful that we got a whole prequel show and book. I do wonder though how the readers of the Bridgerton series feel, the ones who have never seen the show. Maybe some grandma who loves reading historical romance, and then they see that their favorite author, Julia Quinn, came out with a new book that is set in the Bridgerton world, and imagine if they pick it up and they're like, who is Queen Charlotte? When did Lady Danbury become black? I mean, at least the blurb says that this is a book that's inspired by the original series, so it's not like a true prequel to the Bridgerton books. I think it'd be hilarious if a Bridgerton reader picked up this new Queen Charlotte book, not knowing any of the show context. But that's it for my thoughts on Queen Charlotte, both the Netflix series and the book. If you've watched or read it, let me know your thoughts as well. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all next time. Bye!